it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So today I have a little journal flip through for you. I have finished another of my summer flea market style traveler's notebooks. This one is a lot of fun, and it is collaged masterboard. The cover is made from that has a vintage seam binding in the binding to just give it a little more structure and make it a little more sturdy so that you can carry it around on your travels. The closure for this is a single vintage ribbon that I've done sort of a fun messy zigzaggy stitch all the way down. It's this beautiful like brown floral ribbon. It's really pretty, or fabric rather. So on the front of the journal you've got some super cute illustrations and this US stamp that says love, all in botanicals, a butterfly, real vintage ledger from the 1950s, and on back we have a patchwork pocket that I made, and you'll see more collage with music and botanicals at the back. Then inside is this nice hard journal tag, and it has some vintage doily attached to it for just a little extra journaling space in there. This is a single signature ephemera stuffed journal, perfect for a little trip somewhere or a week or two away. You could stick your photos in here, do some writing about, you know, your vacation, what have you. So let's just jump into it. So in the front you will see that the inside is also lined entirely in fabric. This is my rust dyed cotton. You can see some rusty cogs here that I use in the botanical dyeing process. And then this is a piece of organza that I've created like a side bureau pocket. Inside is this large journaling card. It says Brilliant Sunshine and has this koi fish and lots of pink stitching on it. So it's just a nice big journal card for the front. And then this is an actual vintage photo from the 1950s of this lovely family. And it's a pocket on some of my digital vintage scarf, basically, that I digitally modified after scanning it. Then this is a tag, and it has lots of fun fabrics and stitching up top, and it has a little tuck on it. So it's oleander, it's a botanical card, and then this little front section has birds' eggs on it, and tucked inside is a vintage postcard sent from, I believe, Germany to New Jersey, and it's written on the 27th of July 1911. And that came from an estate auction. Then this is just a cute little fussy cut of a couple of pigeons, and they're very anthropomorphic in their cute little clothes, and she's lying in bed. And then this is just a botanical journal page. This is a large pocket of botanical illustrations of ergot. And this is a tag that I made from a vintage tea towel. So it had these beautiful birds on it. It was a 70s vintage tea towel. Then this is actually from a little 1950s brownies guide, and it says a wonderful wishing feather and has a couple little birds there. And then there's this beautiful bee in behind this botanical sample tag. This is from Roxy Creations Weekly Challenge. It's a really fun botanical tag challenge that I took part in. This is coffee dyed dotted paper. Then a little fabric and button collage down here on more coffee dyed paper with some, this is beehive you can see in the background. And then this is a vintage piece of ephemera. It is an old card from a book from a library. And then inside we have this octagonal journal card. It says Yellow Afternoon Sunlight. And on the back it says Drawing. And this is a vintage botanical page. And then on this side we have some vintage pattern for cross stitch, and this has two things inside of it: the morning coffee dilemma and this journal card that's just a really cool piece of art from a vintage Canadian art magazine. And then on this side we have the perfect spot to stick a little picture of something on this Polaroid, and a little porcupine down here. and another fabric collage with a little piece of vintage lace and a little piece of embroidery. And then this page is just kind of a blue woodsy forest. This is actually from a Release the Craft In kit, and I've added a little tab up here with some of that vintage linen tea towel with the calendar on it. Then on this side we have a page from a vintage gardening and woodworking magazine, or book rather, and then this little journal card of the little moon, and that's a little poem from a children's story. And on this side we have the back of that garden book. I keep saying magazine. And then this is from a book that was purchased from a sale that I went to at an estate auction, but it came from the Knox Presbyterian Church in Acton, Ontario, and has this blank library card inside this pocket. And it was from a book called Always a Springtime. And appropriate, these beautiful flowers here. This side we have this beautiful blue lace pocket, and inside just a little bit of celestial, Pegasus, Andromeda, Cassiopeia, and Perseus. That text is all in gold, so it's a big journal card there. And this is just a nice digital page for journaling on, with some nice little floral fabric on the side. It has a ruffle. Coffee dyed paper, and then this is a handmade paper pocket that's had some stitching done. This is one of my jelly prints in behind, and then this fruit tag with some fabric up top. Just a fun summer journal. These journals to me are all about like how a fun summer is antique shopping and flea markets and going into nature, and just kind of making life good. So there's a little piece of that tea towel again, and a little bit of a fabric collage there, and some beautiful flower botanical paper. And then this is this really lovely magazine cut out of some vintage birthday cards with botanicals on them, and I added a little label that I made down there with a moth, and more of those beautiful vintage cards. And that's a journal card for writing on. And then we have a paper sack with this painting of this beautiful lady in these roses, and inside we have a journal card here. More botanicals. And then this side we have some coffee dyed lined paper, and it is trimmed with some beautiful botanical fabric. And on this side we have another page from our Release the Craft In kit, and this was a winter kit, and it's coffee dyed paper, and it's just this beautiful hand with this thread all around it. Here we have a vintage playing card, and inside a couple of things. These butterflies and this tag of this tall tree in the forest with no leaves. And then some lined paper with coffee dyeing at the bottom here. And this is an organza and fabric tab. And then this beautiful bee in lilacs. And paperclip, vintage paperclip on the back we have. This is also coffee dyed paper. And we have this little collaged journal tag and a fabric pocket. This is a nice soft kind of fleecy feeling fabric with these beautiful leaves, and this is from this beautiful tree book, and it has handmade paper on back, and it says needle leaf trees, cone bearing trees, needle leaf forests, conifers. And the paper in back also has fall leaves on it. So this is kind of the late summer vibes page as we're getting to as I'm posting this. Then a belly band here made from a vintage botanical book. And this is this lovely little, it's like a little tiny mushroom cottage inside some leaves and the moon and some snowflakes. It's kind of all the seasons being represented, and it has a little tab of fabric here. And this is a beautiful coloring book page. And on the inside, it is actually the center spread. It's this leafy labyrinth to a garden gate. And inside we have this, there's a lot going on with this piece. So the back is journaling space, and the front is actually like a triple pocket. So we have this beautiful hawk, mushrooms, this celestial boarding pass. And then in the first pocket, we have a botanical sample tag that says near the grove. and that tucks into the first tuck spot. And then in the second one we have a vintage image from a 1930s copy of Black Beauty, and that is that will go into the second tuck spot here. Behind it, I should show you, there's also jelly printing and a vintage stamp. Let's just tuck in there, and then in the very, very back we have this shiny botanical tag. And so all of those tuck right on in there, and we just pop them in here. Then more of that beautiful coloring book page with raspberries and grapes, and a little fabric tab here. Then we have this little index card with this beautiful bird. It says the branches grow, and this is just a little pocket here, florals. And over here we have a little quote. It says, when counting the whorls to find the age of a tree, add 3 for the first 3 years before the whorl growth starts. So good to know if you're doing some nature study. And then this is a leafy page, a coffee dyed page. On this side we have a little torn cabbage dyed paper tuck spot, and this bee, and these beautiful, there's another bee here, and some beautiful botanicals, and this is from a vintage bird guide. And over here, a collaged floral pocket, and behind we have this forget-me-not, this little hand and flowers, and this is a bridge score pad page. Some lined paper and a little ladybug there, and just a little tab here on coffee dyed paper. And you see a pocket here that's been collaged. It has some fairies, and it says fall into good hands. Some blue foresty paper behind it. And then this is a really nice tag that I made from my quote-unquote ort. It's a pot where you throw all of your spare threads from your stitching, and it is something that I learned from Anne Brooke, and so that is an ort tag. And then a little cutout here of this cute little girl in the woods, coffee dyed lined paper, then a paper sack, some florals on here, and a journal card inside of this kind of sunset with some grid on the back. It just pops right into the sack. And then a little coffee dyed paper and some botanical fabric tab, more beautiful botanicals. And then we have a couple things clipped on this side in a vintage brass paper clip. Just pop that back on here. Then we have this Pocketbook Flower, which is a really cool name for a flower, especially for a traveler's notebook. Pocketbook, I thought that was really cool. The flowers are really neat. So this is a vintage floral card from 1978. And then this is just a little collaged card from a children's book. It says month after month, the storm, and it's got this bunny and this ship. It was from a coloring book, actually. And so these just pop on there. Some jelly printing, and then this botanical side tuck pocket, and a collaged journal card. It says the tree that wanted to be a memory. And then some vintage ledger, and on this side in a vintage brass paper clip again we have a couple things. Let me just pop that on there. So first, this 1950s vintage photo of this beautiful woman in this lovely vintage dress standing in the snow on a farm. And on back it says December 9th, 1940. Sorry, this is actually older than 50s. It's 1940. And then this is a postcard from the British Library. It's Jules Verne's The Moon Voyage of 1876. And that just pops in here as so. And then some botanicals, and this is more of that vintage gardening book. And on here we have a large journal card, paper clipped up top. It says Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. It's from a vintage children's book, and it's been stitched around. Just a large journal card there. And then we have some coffee dyed paper with this nice batik fabric down the side, and there's a little bulb pin here holding some long brass tube beads. I'll just bring that up here so you can see. And then a little moth here. This is another Release the Craft In page. And this is some gold bumblebee washi tape and a ruffle of vintage fabric on coffee dyed paper. And this cute little badger, this frame of green back here. And this is more of the vintage cross stitch pattern, and we have a couple things inside here. So first, this vintage school photo. These are from either the 40s or the 50s. The latest is 1953, but it doesn't have the date on it. And then this is a coin roll paper, also vintage. So those just tuck in there. Then this is from a vintage botanical book, and we have a lace pocket here, and it says "One misty, moisty morning," and it has this little family walking in the sort of northern lights, and there's some denim up top, and a little flip out of some swallowtail butterflies on coffee dyed paper, and some nice washi tape there. And then on this side we have coffee dyed paper and one of these embossed file folders, and it has these little vintage candy stickers at the bottom. And on back we have this beautiful tree, and then that just clips on there. And another vintage paper clip, brass paper clip. This is the cover of a vintage book from the 1950s called Good Times All Day, and this is the book cover. And there's a little bit of fabric here. It's been stitched around as a large journal card, and then there's just this botanical paper underneath. So that just clips on here. Coffee dyed paper. And then the final page, we have this vintage gift wrap with poppies. It's a pocket, and this says "Time Goes On." It has this beautiful hand. These are old trade card images. And again, this is a digital of a vintage silk scarf that I scanned. And then here we have another botanical sample tag. And on back, some 1938 book copyright paper. And then back here, I've made this pocket from some silk with cherry blossoms. And you can see there's some of my botanically dyed rust printed fabric. And then there's this large envelope here. Over the pond, I'd fly to the clouds and way beyond. And then inside we have this altered playing card with a little fairy there. And on the back it says, "The moon doth shine as bright." And it has some celestial moon type paper on the inside of the envelope, kind of a way to say goodnight to this journal or get to the end of the journal. And then that just tucks on in here. And then the whole journal is very easy to close with this single closure that you just twist around as so. So thank you so much for joining me. This journal will be going up in my Etsy shop. If you're seeing this video, it's actually already there. And you can find all of my information down below in the description box. Have a lovely day, and thank you for hanging out. Bye for now.